the voice of Claudia Hill, ranked number 3 amongst female glider pilots in the UK, coming through my speakers here in Australia all the way from the UK. We were participating in a multiplayer session on Condor Soaring Simulator. We flew from Leicester in Slovenia into Austria and back to our home airport again. Over some really beautiful country, and we had an immense amount of fun. Condor is a soaring simulator that's proving very popular during this lockdown period, and I'm going to take the time during this episode to show you how you can get involved in using Condor at home, and even show you a couple of advanced features like head tracking that will allow you to look around from the cockpit as you do when you're flying your everyday glider. Now, even if you're not currently a glider pilot, it's great to get involved in Condor, especially while you're waiting for a gliding club to open up so you can take your first flight. I highly recommend it. Now let's go to a conversation I recorded earlier with the lovely Liz Sparrow. Liz is the top-ranked female glider pilot in the UK and the competition director for the upcoming Women's Worlds competition. She updates us on the current situation in the UK with respect to gliding during the lockdown and what it means for WWGC 2021.
Good morning, Kimberly.
Good morning, Liz. Wow. This is amazing, this technology, isn't it? What we're able to do these days.
It's odd, isn't it, that since we've been locked down, I seem to have been talking to more people in more meetings than ever before, you know?
Exactly, and I was saying in a little intro piece I was doing to this that it was just amazing to be participating in some of those sessions online with people from the other side of the world. And I seem to have this, closer connection now to the British gliding team than I do to anybody in Australian gliding, which is kind of interesting.
Yes, but, for me, this is one of those brilliant things that internationals sort of breed these friendships with people that you would otherwise just never meet, not know. And just some people it sticks, doesn't it?
Absolutely, so, yeah, very true. Just for the viewers that might not know the history, you and I have both been around gliding probably longer than I'd care to admit, but we only met for the first time at the Women's Worlds in Australia.
Yes.
Yeah.
I only met in real life for the first time at the Women's Worlds in Australia.
That's true. We did reach out on the internet prior to that. That's true. Anyway, what have you been up to since then?
Well, running around like a completely mad thing, to be honest. We had such huge fun when we came over to keep it. A great place, great people, and just splendid soaring conditions. And just reflecting back on that a second, it was actually nice to be there whilst Australia was burning. We couldn't do anything, but we could offer moral support, and obviously we were actually bringing some much needed revenue to the area, which was nice.
Absolutely.
So since we got back, been busy catching up on all the things that got behind whilst we were away, work things, gliding projects, including the Worlds, obviously, gardening, village community projects I'm involved in. In fact, the glider container only arrived back on, what day is it now? I think it arrived back on Monday. And so we're in lockdown, but Jeremy, our team captain, popped over and checked that everything was safely inside the container, having arrived after a good trip, which it has, which was great. So that's sort of getting on for the end of the Women's Worlds 2019. In gliding world back here, though, there have been sort of two main things occupying me. Firstly, along with the rest of the Women's Worlds 2021 team, picking up and progressing the project, which had sort of sat quietly snoozing whilst we were enjoying ourselves at Keep It. And secondly, one of the key things we've been working on was to get permission from our competitions committee to enter a full team of up to 9 pilots. Normally we only send 4 to the Worlds, but we've got permission now to send 9, so we've been starting to get organised with the potential squad for that. Apart from that, not much really.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, you not only brought some friendship to the worlds. You brought some rain. No sooner had you all left and it poured.
We did promise that the women's worlds would break the drought. We did say it would, and people didn't believe us.
I'm not sure it's broken the drought, but there is some water in the dam now, so that's good. Anyway, yeah, so you have been really busy, and I guess what everybody's interested to hear is what's happening with the worlds that you've been planning with this
Well,
COVID-19 situation.
yes. So we just got ourselves sort of up and organised, and we're really moving into overdrive for starting the detailed planning when we went into lockdown. So like everyone else everywhere, I guess we're learning to use video conferencing, and the core team have met a couple of times for emergency planning, I guess, around that, and and really when we bid to hold WWGC 2021, one of the key aims for us was to raise the profile of gliding, and particularly women gliding, in the UK and other nations. We obviously want to run a really brilliant comp for the people that are flying in it and for everybody that's there, but we also want to engage really effectively with the local community, and for the comp to make some noise nationally, to encourage more women and girls to give gliding a go. And right now we don't even know whether we will be able to run the Hus Bos Challenge Cup International, which would be the pre-Worlds practice event. So that's difficult to be sure we could run the perfect comp without a proper decent run at practicing. And if we do come out of lockdown just in time to run the Challenge Cup International, the Gliding Centre will really be focused on recovering its core membership. There's also the safety concern: will people be sensibly current for their competition? Will their gliders be out of annual? And people and organisations locally and worldwide will be focused on recovery and just simple economic survival, I think. So that's really going to impact the wider aims of the competition. So because of all of that, we did ask the IGC to let us delay the competition by a year. They've approved that delay, and we're now flying almost exactly the same dates in August 22. And the Challenge Cup International pre-Worlds practice will be not this year's Challenge Cup if it runs, but next year. So so on the upside, that means we've got longer to develop our squad of 9, which is great, but who knows whether we'll get any flying this year. And although we've sort of gained an extra year, the task of getting the outside facing stuff done has probably got a year and a half harder. So we're ploughing on with all the planning for that, of engaging with the outside world, ploughing on full speed.
Wow, lovely. Yeah.
And I tell you what, though, I wish we could bank the weather, because ever since lockdown has started, the sky's been blue with little puffy clouds in. I mean, from time to time we're all posting on Facebook, "Don't look up, don't look up, don't look up."
I was just about to remark what a beautiful morning it is there. It's been a rather dreary day here in Sydney, but it's just sort of coming to sunset now, and it's not too bad. Started to clear up a little bit, but yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous here. As you can see, the sun's shining. You can hear the birds singing. Lockdown for us, I live in a tiny little village in the countryside, and so lockdown really isn't a terribly onerous thing. We have a village shop, we have a village pub. The pub's doing takeaways now and probably selling more meals than it was before, and it's a community shop, so I volunteer on the rota for that. So we've been frantically busy, and we've managed to keep it. Our shop manager's been an absolute hero, and he's managed to keep it more or less fully stocked the whole time. So yeah, extra gardening, less gliding, but more gardening.
All right, lovely. Well, as you know, I've been in contact with Claudia, and we've been having a little play around on Condor, so I hope to see you on there if you get a spare 5 minutes at some point in time.
Yes. First of all, I've now you've encouraged me that the graphics card in my laptop just might work. I'm going to buy the software and give it a go. So
Good on you.
mind you, what happened last time? Last time I flew Condor was me and Ayala on one of the days that we were smoked out at Keep It, and we decided we would have been flying down to investigate the territory down to the southwest. So we thought, okay, we'll go and do it on the simulator there. At one point, we flew sufficiently fast, the wings dropped off.
I was there, remember? I was in the sim room with you, although
you were in the room, yes. True.
I did leave before you ripped the wings off.
Yes. Yeah, well, you see, we're just so fast. We fly so fast.
I have to confess, I've got a lovely screenshot of me doing the same in a JS1. No, in a Diana too. All right. Lovely to talk to you. And
it's great to see you again.
Yeah, we'll catch up again. And look, I've actually lost my job, as many people have. So, you know, I'm kind of grateful for the time that's going to occur between now and the Worlds, because I do intend to come over. I don't think I'll be a good enough competitor to qualify, but I'm going to give it a go. And if I don't qualify, I'll be over there anyway.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, there's a role of media manager going, so
sounds good to me.
You can help us out with that.
I'll put my hand up for that one. All right,
brilliant.
Lovely to talk to you. Take care.
See you. Bye.
Point out that Soaring Sisters is not sponsored by Cumulus Soaring, nor are we sponsored by Condor. We are, however, always looking for sponsors, and in the interim you can support us by subscribing to this channel. That helps us attract sponsors, but you can also go over to our Spreadshirt shop and purchase the merchandise there, which helps us as well. The links are below. Now let's go over to the Condor website and I'll show you what that looks like, what you need to download to install it, and what some of the options are. So to get started with Condor, go over to condorsoaring.com. Now you can only download Condor 2 now. Condor 1 is no longer available. And you can come to the Buy section, click on Condor, and there you can see Condor 2, the standard version, which comes with 7 gliders, 4 tow planes, and the Slovenia landscape. Or you can buy the Pro version, which comes with 22 gliders, 4 tow planes, and the Slovenian landscape. I just went for the standard version, then downloaded a couple of aircraft that I wanted, which you also pay for. But they're reasonably priced. And just like real aircraft, some are cheaper than others. So I'm on a Mac at the moment, but all you need to do is click on the version that you wish to download, put in your payment details, and it will be downloaded to your computer, and then you just go through the install process. Now, if you need support, there's the classic support, which tells you what your system requirements are and so on. There's also a forum, and as soon as you sign up to that forum, you can participate in discussions there or see what's going on about various things. And it can be very helpful if you're having some issues. The add-ons here, you can go to planes and landscape. So we've seen the planes, let's go to the landscape because this is important. So you can get landscape from these various places. You can also get hold of something called Condor Updater, which will allow you to install various updates, which includes landscapes. So here you see, once you get Condor 2 installed, you'll need this patch to update it to 2.1.1, and then you'll need the Hangar 13 update. If you don't do that, you won't be able to participate in multiplayer games very successfully. For those who are interested in creating landscapes, which is quite detailed, you can do that as well. And here's the list of aircraft. So there you go, that's the Condor Soaring Simulator download. So that's what you'll need to download for Condor to work on your system. Just check that your computer meets the system requirements. I found that the graphics card that I have, which didn't quite meet the specifications, was still good enough to use, although in multiplayer sessions other glider pilots reported that my aircraft seemed to be sort of stuttering in flight. I don't think that was due to my graphics. I think that was actually due to a high latency internet connection, fairly typical for Australia. Unfortunately, we have some of the worst broadband in the world. I think we're ranked about 100, so that's more an indictment of our government's way of doing things than it is my graphics card. Anyway, besides the software and the computer, you'll need some sort of input device, so we'll look at that, and then I'll get on to some of the more advanced features, including head tracking. To begin using Condor, you'll need some kind of input device like a joystick. You could use a yoke as well, or that's not very realistic for gliding purposes. I went and got myself this Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick. You don't need rudder pedals, but of course the purists would say that you should get them, particularly if you're learning. I don't have them for this particular joystick because the rudder function is controlled by twisting the stick. And being a relatively high hours glider pilot, I already know how to use the rudder pedals, so I'm not too concerned about it. I'm not learning. So this joystick connects relatively easily. I found I had to change the sensitivity a little bit. It was a little too sensitive to start with. That's just my personal preference. What you've got at the top here is this little, what they call a top hat, which is like a mini joystick. You can use that to look at the different views, left and right and up and down and so forth. I've also got the trim set here, so I can trim back and trim forward. Get on the forum and see what people are doing talking about that. There are some gliders that use a click type, trigger type trim in real life. Some of those in Condor are configured to do that, but I couldn't get it to work successfully. I've configured my throttle here to be the air brake. I find that works really well. You can gradually apply air brake just as you do in the real glider. I of course have head tracking on mine, so I don't need this top hat, although I can still use it. I just move my head from left to right or up or down. So that's what you'll need for your input. When you first start flying Condor, I don't recommend you use head tracking. It's just too difficult to tell what inputs are due to your control inputs and what are due to you moving your head. Those of us who've flown for a long time, will understand that, particularly those of us who fly competitions and gaggles, it takes you quite a while to develop the skill that you need to keep flying your proper attitude while your head is spinning around looking at all the other gliders around you. It's similar in Condor. It's actually probably a little bit more difficult than it is in real life. Nonetheless, once you've got used to it, there are head tracking devices available. You can also use virtual reality goggles, although I don't know about the iStrain with those. I've never used them. But with head tracking, there are commercial solutions like this available. which are outside of my price range, but maybe inside yours. There are also cheap ways to build your own tracking device using infrared LEDs that you can make a little mount for on your headphones or onto the peak of a baseball cap, for instance. So if you're the kind of person to DIY, you can do that option. I chose to go with FaceTrack No IR, which doesn't use infrared LEDs as the name implies, and it actually uses your webcam. Now I have a built-in webcam in the laptop that I use, so I went with that. I did try it with a larger screen and a separate webcam, and it looked like my particular webcam wasn't compatible, so I went back to using the laptop. For me, it worked pretty much out of the box, but I will describe to you some of the changes that I made to that software in order to make it a little less sensitive and so on. But it works perfectly well, and I can look around at my left and right wingtip and up and down and everything else, just like I can in the real glider. So this is the Face Tracker app in use. You can see those values up there for the different axes. And as I move my head, those values will change. I've set up the home key as the way to zero those. So if I hold my head still in the middle and press the home key, you'll see those values decrease to near zero. Now I can turn my head one way or the other, up and down, and you can see the values changing and the little picture of the face moving as well. And you can also see the way that it's tracking my eyes and my face. You'll have to fiddle with the settings a little bit. It can be a little bit too sensitive when you first start. Just play with the curves. You'll see what I've done is I've put a little kink in them, so I've flattened the curve for the initial head movements and then left it steep for the latter head movements, which are kind of at the end of your range. And that seemed to work well for me. So you can just play with those settings and see what works for you. I also had to invert the pitch, otherwise my head was looking the wrong way. When I looked down, I would actually be looking up. So you might need to do that with yours as well. Okay, so now let's have a look at it in flight. Here I am flying along. And I can look upwards, look at the clouds, and look downwards into the glider, look left, I can look to the right, and there's Lake Keep It. And then look ahead again, I can look around just like I can when I'm flying the real glider. Now I wouldn't recommend you set up head tracking, as I've said several times, until you're used to flying without it, because it can get a little bit disorienting. So I hope all that information about Condor was useful to you. We are going through some very difficult times at the moment. I know we'd all rather be out soaring, especially in the UK and in Europe, in the Northern Hemisphere, where you are heading now into your summer months. Here in Australia we're heading into winter, but of course we often have all year round soaring. I would encourage you to think about your students, especially those who are early in their training. Get them on Condor as well, and remember to point out to them any resources that you might have that they can look at and use to continue to promote their interest in gliding. Start having net meetings and use Zoom technology and whatever else you can to keep everybody's interest up and to keep everybody involved in your club's operations. There are a lot of existing resources on the web. Check out Facebook if you're on Facebook. Just search for Women in Gliding, search for gliding women, female glider pilots. You search words like that and you'll find a lot of groups where you can get involved. And you can find information on the Women Glide UK page about some of the Condor sessions, or you can just have a look at the server list in Condor. There are lots of other resources on the web. Just have a search and see what you can find. As many are probably aware, gliding competitions all over the place and gliding operations all over the place are being postponed or shut down temporarily. We spoke to Liz earlier about the Women's World Gliding Championships and the Hus Bos Challenge, which would be the pre-Worlds event. The World Gliding Championships in Germany has also been postponed, and I'm certain most contests around the world are now being postponed. Also, if you're a gliding personality like Liz, or you're someone who's just interested in contributing content to this channel, please reach out to me via the comments below and I'll get in touch with you. And certainly I'm very interested in getting other people involved in contributing content. Also do really want to get to some international competitions. I know it's a long way from Australia to where most of you are, but I can think automatically of New Zealand as a place that I'd very much like to go, and I know there's a great YouTube community in New Zealand. I'm going to end this episode of Soaring Sisters in a slightly different way. We normally end with our theme music and a few photographs or videos. This video has been doing the rounds of social media, and some of you might have seen it. It was created by Lucas Berca from Argentina. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly, Lucas. And it clearly took a lot of time using stop motion photography. This has been Soaring Sisters. I'm Kimberly Olsen. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.